Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today is Monday? December 15th. All day long. It's a pretty crazy day. Pretty crazy, pretty wild. One of the things that, so the three main principles that the Mental Mastery Alliance was built on was, number one, do not be a prisoner of your past. You are not who you were. You are somebody standing right now today with the information that you've gleaned from all of the actions that you've taken. One of the things that we tend to do as humans is beat ourselves up. And what I mean by that is we will look back with today's knowledge at a younger version of ourselves and scold ourselves with today's knowledge. This is not acceptable. It's funny how I jumped into that. My natural brain was, this I command. 10 points to the first person who can name that. It's a wild moment in time for me. So secondarily, the secondary premise of this company was based on anxiety and depression removal. And this is from my own personal experience. This is how I've managed to create certain things, do certain things, act a certain way, think a certain way, see certain things. I'm not saying I'm perfect. God, Lord knows I'm far from it. But I try every single day to be a better version of who I was yesterday. Sometimes you get lost in the shuffle. Sometimes you do crazy things. Sometimes you do foolish things, and you don't even really truly understand why you're doing what you're doing. We have this preconceived notion that every single person other than us is living a life that we wish we had, that there's a better version of us, that there's something so much better. And we look at ourselves and we say, why not me? A lot of the time. There's a lot of people out there that are living fantastic lives and like, you know what? Nothing's better than this. And even those people will look around and quietly compare. So the person with a Lambo is upset that they don't have a Bugatti. You know, this layer continues no matter where you are. The person with kids wishes sometimes they didn't have them. The person without them wishes all they had was them. The person, you know, it doesn't really matter anywhere that you are. Anywhere that you are in life, you're going to look over there and say, well, what about that guy? This is how the world works. We're often so worried about what the world thinks of us as well that we never really stop to wonder what we think of ourselves. So in keeping with the anxiety and depression, I've just come out of, I don't want to say a self-induced depression because this one's totally different. Now, this is one of those things where I think the guy, I heard the quote somewhere where, you know, if you're cooking steaks all the time, you know when your steak is medium rare. And if you're never cooking steaks, you have to test it, cut it, time it, whole 9 yards to figure out if it's medium rare. Well, my whole life has been an interesting battle with issues, with observation. I'm a life path 9 Cancer. My whole internal wiring before I even got here was to solve problems. And first and foremost, to perceive problems. So the interesting thing about anxiety and depression is you find yourselves in these loops. And when you understand the anxiety/depression loop, it's not just one loop. It's a myriad of tiny loops, all looping more loops in a loop-de-loop version of loopy loops. Ah, the loops. Loopy. When you begin to see that, when you truly grasp that, you can actually expand and see that there are more loops externally. There are cycles that you're in. There are things that you put yourself in. And we paint ourselves with these huge brushes. A friend of mine just sent me a meme that said, "Autroverts." They're not introverts. They're not extroverts. They are primarily introverts and energy savers until they find the right people that they can have in-depth conversations with. And then your mind catches fire and you become an extrovert. You become a crazy, wild person. And I've experienced that. I'm familiar with that term being omnivert, not autrovert. And omnivert to me was an introvert extrovert. And to me, what made sense was all people drain you and you recharge on your own, especially in nature. Go hug a tree, they say. Go grounding, sun gazing. This is the stuff that charged me. For me to give back to society, I had to go and charge myself in nature. So the two of them are similar, and the one grab that I took from it was, it's not all people that drain you. It's only some people. And when you can, I don't want to say eliminate because everybody has their purpose, but when you can selectively choose who actually gets the depth and brevity of you, who actually gets your time, who you're willing to contribute your essence and energy to, primarily it should be you. And then on top of that, it should be a very select group of people that reciprocate and that handle things well. Now, for the most part, we get tossed in these loops. And when I talk about addiction and when I talk about recovery, when I talk about all of these things, there are so many different ways. And now I've also been publicly against AA, for example, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. And there's a lot of reasons to that, because in my opinion, at the end of the day, you're swapping out one addiction for another, drinking to sitting around in a circle. Now, I understand the benefit to communicating. I do not understand the benefit to saying I need to be here for my entire life and collect chips and all this sort of stuff, because what you're doing is anchoring yourself to your own poison. Now, that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not over here saying it's bad for everyone. I am over here saying that I went through massive alcohol consumption. The majority of my life, I consumed way more than your average bear, boo-boo. And I loved the cocaine, especially when I was in high ticket sales, high pressure sales. And I was watching this interview with a fella saying that all addictions are not necessarily bad. They are you showing you something that you need to create. They are you showing you a shortcoming or a flaw or something inside you. An addiction is replacement therapy. So you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to replace? What are you trying to create? What are you trying to attach yourself to that doesn't already exist? And that could be an addiction to drugs, mushrooms, cocaine, drinking. It can be an addiction to affection. It can be an addiction to always having a partner next to you because you have no idea how to be alone. It can be an addiction to absolutely everything. Right? See, we have these pigeonhole ideas of what addicts are, of what depression is, of what anxiety manifests and or means. But the truth of the matter is, every single thing can trigger you, can heal you, can help you grow, can hinder you. Every single thing, depending on how you choose to look at it. And the longer you sit inside your own self, like me, for example, I've had to spend probably the last 2 months in a massive, deep cycle. Because I spent the last 2 years in I want to say, I'm going to say this carefully, but a self-induced cocoon, a self-induced mental coma, as it were. And what I mean by 2 years is I'm tracking it back to the wedding. I went to my neighbor's wedding and we were playing around in the pool and we had some fun, and I inadvertently threw my back out, and I needed to take the edge off. I needed to get some pain going. So I tried some, or not tried, but I got prescribed some pain meds. And kind of went to war with them. And so this is something that rekindled a past or a loop in my history. And I look at this and I think to myself, okay, so what was the feeling? What were you chasing? What was the replacement? What was any of this? And I feel like, I mean, there's so much more that I want to unpack about the past 2 years, but I can't really do it right now because I don't have the verbiage. In other words, it's like, how do I say it? It's like, it's not a secret, but until I'm fully prepared and until I've fully ingested what has taken place and until I've fully articulated and alchemized, I can't speak on it because any words that I say could be a hindrance to me, could be a pattern form. I could say them and think that they're true. This is one of those things where if you're going to put something out into the ethos, you absolutely got to have it right. So, I mean, there was a ton of back and forth. There was a ton of variables. There was a ton of things that have taken place over the last 2 years. And for me, I have to look at what it all means. I have to look at what the intent was. And with the depression, when the depression hits, there are certain things that people don't talk about when it comes to any sort of addiction, any sort of pain med, any sort of recovery. I mean, 1,000 times over, you'll hear people say things like cigarettes are harder to quit than heroin. And everyone's got an opinion. Oh, you don't drink? Why don't you drink? Do you have a problem with alcohol? You know, this is one of those things where it's like so many people have so much to say. And we ourselves are sitting there going, this is my experience. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with. I had another thing in the past 2 weeks after breaking up with my girlfriend, amicably. You know, we're on good terms. She's a good person, care for her, good for her. But it's funny to watch. First off, the algorithm, which is something that I've talked about ad nauseum to a degree, but I certainly want to vent more on it. There's a lot of work I want to do on the algorithm, and it's not so much I'm talking about the algorithm. It's that the experiences have shown me that there's a high likelihood that this world that we're living in is showing itself a lot more than we understand. And when you can tap into that frequency, there's some really, really cool things that you can see. And so I remember too, when I was drinking heavily, that I was trying to numb myself from society. And in the past 2 years, I found myself having a drink or two and consuming, nowhere near to my level before, but trying everything. Sort of giving everything a go, as it were. And that's not me. And so this is one of those things where I'm like, you know, what are we escaping? What are we running from? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? And there's a lot of people that will say, well, doing drugs is not running from something. It's running towards an ideology. And I'll say this, maybe the amount of acid that I did as a child, like imagine my first hit of acid, I was 14 years old. No, maybe I was 15. No, I was 14. We went to a Fugazi concert in Ottawa, Porter Hall, Carleton University. And I decided to drop acid. I was 14. What? No, I wasn't 14. I was 15. I was absolutely 15 because I was just remembering where I was afterwards in the house that we were living in. And the funny thing about my dad was we moved every year. Grade 9, I was in one house. Grade 10, another house. 11, another house. Grade 12, another house. And then halfway through grade 12, I moved out on my own. That's enough of this, I says. Goddamn. It's fascinating to me how it's not so much that we want to point the finger, but we end up pointing the finger. We don't have the ability to sit with ourselves when we're trying to figure this out. We want to know more about what other people are saying, thinking, or doing. We want to know more about everything. On top of that, we project. So why I brought up the breakup again was because the amount of people inside our circle that know both of us decided to make comments on posts shared, things like that, on both sides. And I can honestly say in my intent, I mean, I'm a content creator, so I share what's in my life, but I don't talk backhandedly. You know, so it's not like I need to talk to somebody through memes. If I've got something to say to you, I'm coming straight to your face. And it's funny because the amount of people that want to read into things have the ability to construe what it is that you're trying to say. And like I said before, Bill Burr said it best, where he says, as a comedian, I can stand up on stage and say whatever I want. It can be a sexist joke, a racist joke. It's a joke. I'm up here being funny, and sometimes funny is shock. We lost that along the way, where shock humor was thrown out the window because people were so fucking offended. Or the idea of being offended seemed righteous, so certain personality types latched onto it like it was a badge. Poo-poo on you, I say. So Bill Burr says, it doesn't matter what I say because my intent is my intent. I know what I'm thinking when I'm writing the joke. What happens is the words come out of my mouth and they pass through inside your head and inside your filter, and they become what you need them to become to help perpetuate and create your story. It is not the truth. It is you churning you through me. And I thought that was fascinating because it's the truth. How many times have you said something and got misunderstood and somebody barked back and yelled at you? I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, and there are people who are worth fighting for 100% and be like, hey, this is a misunderstanding. Sorry about that. And we also live in a world where communication is devolved into texting, and even to the point where like, we're not even really texting anymore because it's like kind of coming back. So people are sending voice notes, but nobody's really engaging in a conversation. Society has twisted us so slowly that we don't have the ability to not only not sit with ourselves, but to not even sit with a friend. We can't have a phone conversation because it's annoying or it's intrusive. We have to text to see if we can call. And it happened so gradually that none of us even really saw it or noticed it. So I'm saying all this because the ethos has definitely shown me in the past 2 months alone how many people are absolutely suffering with depression, with anxiety, with certain fears. The world is really doing a number on people right now, and it's a continuation. It's constant. So the question becomes, how do we change that focus? How do we not see things that way? And I think it comes from alchemizing. I think it comes from taking a look inside and saying, okay, these are the things that I can do. These are the things that I want to do. These are the things that I'm going to do. I also think it comes from talking. So it's kind of funny that I say this now after denouncing AA and NA. But when you get into a sphere and you understand that people are there, you can work through it. And it's not funny if you think about what I'm about to say. Once you're healed, you don't need the man groups or the lady groups or the mindset groups. Once you're healed, once you understand, once you've alchemized the lesson, you're free to go on. I don't want you to have to continually relive the moment, because then you become a prisoner of your past, which is unequivocally unacceptable. Gal darn. It's a beautiful journey when you allow it to be. And that's one of the things that not a lot of people truly grasp or truly understand. Because we get so wrapped up in the moment, or so wrapped up in being right, or so wrapped up in getting that next fix or getting that next hit. And it could be anything from, like I said, a glass of wine, or a nice glance from a person, or a post on Facebook hoping that you're going to get a dopamine hit from applause or from praise. Addictions come in every form. And a lot of people will say they ruined my life. But I can say this. All of the times that I've battled addiction, I've always come out on top. All of the times that I've battled anxiety and depression, I've always come out on top. Any time I've ever done anything, as much as it sucked at the moment that I was doing it, I've always come out on top. And so have you. If you're sitting here right now listening to this podcast, everything you've ever faced in your entire life, you've defeated. So it becomes weird to think that whatever it is you're going through right now won't be the same. And this is one of those things where, as a cancer, as an analytical thinker, I'm always thinking to myself, I can think my way out of this. But the truth is you can't. Because emotions do get involved. Emotions do show up. There are things going on inside you that you have no control over. And that's okay. And it's understanding that and seeing that these are the patterns. This is where conversation helps, because when you think you're on your own, When you think that you're going through something nobody else has experienced or anything like that, it's hard to talk about it. There's shame involved. There's anything. There's negative self-talk. There's disrespect. There's all kinds of things. And one of the biggest things that people do not talk about is the space between. And what I mean by this, and this is very important, if you take nothing else from this episode, listen to me now, believe me later, as my father used to say. Not sure where he got that quote from, but I always liked it. Listen to me now, believe me later. The space between is fuckery. So if you're an addict, if you're coming off a drug, if you've gone cold turkey, you know, there's so many things that people talk about. They talk about the white knuckling. They talk about the pain. They talk about this. They talk about that. But they don't talk about the relapse cycle, because a lot of pharmacies, a lot of doctors, a lot of people, a lot of everything, and this is a very controversial point, to the point where I should probably smash this button. Let's see if I can do it right.
In the news.
Nope.
In the news. Now.
I did not do it right. I'm going to press this button then. Good Lord, Richard.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
I don't even know why I wanted to press that button now. I got all flustered. But the space between is this moment in time where the anxiety from the withdrawals are gone. And that's what I was going to say too. If the doctor is going to say, or all these people are going to say that, you know, you need these meds, you need this you need this help quitting. Everything I've ever quit in my entire life was cold turkey. I quit cigarettes, I quit drinking, I quit cocaine, I quit fast women, I quit all of these things cold turkey. And yes, I'm sure there's probably an easier way to do it, but where's the lesson in easy? That's one of the things that I've said 1,000 times. How do you test your merit and character if you're going to fall into something that's easy? I'll tell you this, rock bottom has forged more champions than privilege ever will. And that's a fact. So for me, going cold turkey is the only way to go. And what happens when you go cold turkey is, I mean, the first 2 weeks on anything, depending on your level of addiction, is crazy because it's physical. You get the jitters, you get the white knuckling, you get the anxiety through the roof, you get all kinds of fun stuff. It's delicious. What a concoction. And then you hit day 14, day 15, day 16. And you think to yourself, okay, I'm better now. We're good. And whatever your drug of choice might be, you may go and try it again just to test yourself out. And then what happens is you reset the cycle. Fuck. So now you're dragging on your own painful process. Uh-oh. It's a little bit easier because you're not coming off a massive amount of whatever it was you were consuming. In other words, you know, you're not drinking every night. So maybe you go on day 14 and you have a drink or two with your friends, or maybe 3, and you get a little bit of a buzz, but then you reset the whole wiring inside your system gets reset. And this is where it becomes not so much a control thing or a mindset thing or anything like that. It's absolutely a chemical. It's a soul thing. It's inside you to do this. And so as we sit on day 14, 15, and we think, okay, we can do this. This is the problem that a lot of people don't talk about, especially if you're doing cold turkey. There is a hum between roughly day 14 and day 21 through 30, where your entire body is recalibrating and creating whatever substance you were artificially injecting. Which is why, day 0 through 10, a heavy drinker will have the shakes. And you can fight through that because you know you're doing something. The painful part, or I don't want to say the painful part, the confusing part comes later. The confusing part, like I said, comes around day 14, 15, 16, where the anxiety is gone, the shakes are gone, the pain is gone. The memories are still sort of there. And the new, your old pre-addiction pattern hasn't come online. So you sit in a world of uncertainty, and it's almost endless because one day of uncertainty feels like an eternity. Imagine a week, and it's not so much uncertainty. It's not anything. It's just melodramatic hum where you aren't interested in anything that you've ever done before. It's much like waking up. Once you see things, you can't unsee them. I remember my first quote unquote waking up session, my first dark night of the soul. I lost all interest in sports and TV and music and all that shit. There's just stuff I couldn't handle or fathom. And prior to this 2 years, I had done 7 years of relative, I call it my 7 years in Tibet, where I completely reprogrammed who I was, because the version of me that brought me to the age of 37 is not somebody that this version of me would have been proud of. But he was very third dimensional, and he was very rudimentary, and he was very by the book. So he did what he was told to do. He was a bit of a dick. He stepped on toes. He didn't give a shit. He was a bit of an asshole. He was ruthless, but he was highly successful in the third dimension. Totally miserable, almost suicidal. It's a fascinating change to have everything that they ever told you to have in the third, and to basically lose it all, throw it all away, burn it up, because it wasn't meant to follow you into what you're doing next. That's the same thing with this 14 days, ladies and gentlemen. When you get addicted to something, if you are addicted to something, if you are working through something, whether it's pills or drinking or fucking whatever it is you're doing, cigarettes, a terrible ex, for example, we have this notion of who we are with the substance, whatever the substance is. And we don't have the ability to look past the substance or see who we are without it. And this is a massive, massive thing, because what this really means is the substance itself, whatever it is, cigarettes, alcohol, pills, cocaines, women, men, your significant other, whatever, however you want to look at it. There is this version of you that doesn't understand. And it's all of them. It's that substance. It's whatever it is talking to you. It's not you talking. It's that substance talking to you, saying, you're good. You've done the work. You can try one more time. You can do this. You can do that. Like, think about all the times that you broke up with somebody who you weren't aligned with. Every single breakup felt like the end of the world, except for a couple months later, you're like, oh, fuck, whatever. It's all good. Depending on who you are. Every single breakup I've ever gone through was when I was drinking, and none of them mattered. This breakup hurt a little bit more because I had considered something. I had preconceived notions. I'd been dealing with a ton of stuff. I had been fighting through depression. I had been sort of all over the place, never really focusing on me, and I lost myself. I lost myself in the journey. Not in the relationship. I lost myself in the journey. And the relationship just happened to take place as I was in the process of losing myself. And one can say, hey, your girlfriend's a terrible person for breaking up with you, blah, blah, blah. The truth of the matter is, I was a terrible person to myself and in the relationship. Not like I'm not abusive or anything like that, but I mean, you can clock out. Like I can honestly admit that I wasn't as active in my own life as I could have been. I was 100% active in my career and in my business life. And I've been helping people consistently all the way through, but it's an amazing thing. And I've said this before in this show. When I flick record, I become the host of the podcast. There's been so many times where I've put the effort in, the energy and all that sort of stuff. And then I've hit, okay, we're done. We stop. We go off air. And then I just sort of fall back and be like, oh, wow, that took a lot out of me. Right. And this is also something that a lot of people don't talk about, because everybody is into optics and into imagery. And in this small little funk that I went through, there's so many things I gleaned from all of this. There are so many voices barking commands at you. The algorithm is based on division. How many times did I see so many posts that were like, your woman doesn't matter. She's out there cheating on other people. She never cared about you in the first place. If she can just go and do this and that and the other thing, then blah, 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 blah. Like, the algorithm is like ramming this down my throat. And I'm sitting there going, I don't believe this. I don't believe any of this. Right. And then they can say, well, that's the serotonin. That's the addiction telling you not to believe what the truth is. But that's not true. Right. We get locked into these things and we look for answers. And a lot of us look and seek and hunt. And then we see the social medias and then we like a post and then we agree with it. And because a lot of people want to hate their ex, or they want to get angry at somebody, or they're trying to point a finger at something, whether it's their ex, whether it's a substance, whether it's anything, that they never really give themselves the opportunity or the blessing to just chill and say, hey, how did I contribute to this? What is happening here for me? Why is this happening for me? What am I meant to experience? What am I gleaning from all of this? And that's the shit that really, really gets you going. Once you truly understand your position in it, you realize that everybody in your life is there helping you, no matter how you choose to perceive it. You know, even if somebody rear ends you and you have to spend a few minutes, you know, going through the insurance and all that sort of stuff, there's a high likelihood of, had they not rear ended you, down the road 5-10 minutes, you would have got T-boned by somebody running a red light. So it doesn't matter what's happening in this world or why it's happening. The understanding is it is happening for you. And once you let go of the idea that you need to be connected to the outcome, or that you're in control of the outcome for that matter, you can start enjoying the ride a lot more. And that's really cool. And I want to touch back on something because I'm not sure I was articulate enough on it. The space between, ladies and gentlemen, the space between, to anyone dealing with addiction, to anyone dealing with withdrawal, to anyone dealing with anxiety and depression, that space between that says, hey, you're good, you're safe, you're okay. Don't listen to it. Understand that every single day your brain is going to go up and down. And when you're in the thick of this, and when you're in the thick of depression, when you're in the thick of an anxiety or in the thick of recovery, don't be too quick to jump the gun. Don't be too quick to say you're healed. Don't be too quick to say anything, because the more you put out there, the more you attempt to live up to. And there's nothing wrong with sitting back, doing the internal work, making some quiet statements or some quiet adjustments, and focusing in on how you feel about you in any given moment. Because you can't offer anything to anybody else. You can't help anybody else. You can't be anything for anyone if you're not on your game, if you're not on point for you. The space between is huge. There's a 2-week window between chaos, which you're familiar with, as crazy as it may seem, and total neutrality, where nothing holds its flare. Woo! That was a Ric Flair reference to those that don't get it. Woo! Sometimes you just have to do it twice. It's pretty addictive, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't wooed in a while, go for it. Right in your car. Just got a bunch of people wooing right now. I want to hear you woo! Woo! Ric Flair. So, I think the end of this is, well, the end of this episode, not the end of everything. There's so much more coming. Is find your spark, find your creativity, find your peace. If you're in the thick of it, stick with it, man. Reinvent yourself. Take a look at yourself. Give yourself 30 days, even if you think at 14 you're okay. The path perpetually gets easier. The understandings get easier. Even if nobody really understands what you're doing because you're holding on to your truth while you're figuring your shit out, allow that to be. Allow anyone to believe anything that they want to believe. Because remember, those that matter don't care, and those that care don't matter. And what I mean by that is, if somebody wants to bust your balls about the way you're doing something, this person is interjecting their beliefs on you. This person is saying to you, this is how I would do it. This is how you should do it. Thank you for your advice, Susan. But I'm not overly interested. I'll take the pieces that I can. I'll do what I can with it, but I can't alchemize you while I'm trying to figure out who I am. And this is a safe and healthy boundary that everyone should feel fine to put out there. If you don't feel that you're fine to tell somebody you care about what you really need, then you may not be in a quote unquote safe relationship. If you're afraid of sharing your thoughts, if you're afraid of sharing your opinions, if you're afraid of sharing your ideologies or your understandings or your opinions on certain things for fear of what they may say or how they may react, they may not be your person. If you're going through addiction withdrawal, if you're in the thick of it right now and you need someone to talk to, reach out to us. Info at the Mental Mastery Alliance. Reach out to me directly, Adam at the Mental Mastery Alliance. There are tools that you can do. There are things that you can do to help yourself. The mindset is huge. The mindset is huge. These are all wins. This life is designed to make you a better version of you, not to break you. This is why you've overcome every single thing that you've ever faced, all adversity, without even realizing that you've done it so well. And this is something that you should certainly take pride in. And I could prattle on for hours and hours and hours. But I'll say this again. If you're having any problems with mental health, male, female, whatever it is, this is rampant right now. It's rampant. If you're having issues with it, reach out to us. info@ or Adam @ the Mental Mastery Alliance. Send us a DM, Instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Somebody will reach out to you. If you don't feel like emailing, send a text to the office or to the podcast phone, 647-338-1265. Somebody will get back to you. You matter. You are important. If you're perfectly happy and healthy right now and you feel some of your friends may be slipping, reach out. Christmas is a very tough time of year for a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. And if we can look past our own faces and our own noses and we can start seeing what's going on in and around us as well, and the people around us that may need us, that shit's cathartic. It's amazing to help somebody. It's amazing to help somebody who you know might need it more than they're ever willing to ask for it. So don't hesitate to share your light with those that may not have it. Don't hesitate to be a beacon for those that don't have light right now. And there's a lot of people right now, and it's running all over the place. Like I said, it's rampant. I'm getting messages from all kinds of people. I've got other people out there. My friend Chris, for example, is in the same boat, and he's taking messages from all kinds of people. Chris, if you're looking, huge shout out, my friend. If you're in the Quebec area, go get your hair done. Blades and bourbon. It's a crazy time of year. It's a crazy time of life. It's a crazy time of everything. And I'll say this right now. If you're in it, you will get through it. If you need help, reach out to anybody in your circle. If you don't want to reach out to them, reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to talk. This isn't a sales pitch. This isn't anything. We're not asking for a single penny. Just letting you know that if you're in it, you've got an ally right here. We love you. We love this world. We love it all. As chaotic as it may feel and as chaotic as it may seem, this is the only place I want to be. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.